Let's dive in. Acts chapter 9, right?
Yeah.
Huge turning point. And we've got some amazing sources to go through today.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking Saul, persecuting Christians, and then bam, becomes Paul,
Totally.
a follower of Jesus.
It's incredible, right? The text, like, really emphasizes Saul's, his zeal at the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
You know? Like, breathing out threatenings and slaughter.
Oh.
That's serious. And it's not just, like, disagreement. It's, like, visceral.
Yeah. I mean, it says he's going to Damascus to arrest them.
Exactly. To arrest followers of Jesus. And this whole journey to Damascus, right?
Yeah.
Sets the stage for, like, one of the most dramatic scenes in the whole Bible.
Oh, for sure. Okay, picture this. Saul's approaching Damascus, totally focused, and suddenly there's this light.
This, like, brilliant light from heaven.
Flashing from the sky.
Yeah. And this isn't just any light. This is, like, divine intervention.
Oh, yeah.
He's knocked to the ground. He's blind. And he hears a voice calling his name.
Saul.
Saul, why are you persecuting me?
Oh, man, that would be terrifying. Like, imagine that.
Yeah.
It's like a movie. But also, think about the question. Like, why are you persecuting me? It's so personal.
Yeah.
So attacking Jesus' followers is attacking Jesus himself. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, it's a really profound point about the connection between Jesus and the church. It's like Saul's actions against the believers, it's seen as attacking Jesus directly.
Wow.
And that idea, I think it still resonates.
For sure. Okay, so Saul's had this encounter, right? He's blind. And now what? A disciple named Ananias.
Ananias.
Right.
What happens there?
God speaks to Ananias, tells him to go find Saul.
Okay.
And I think here's where we see that tension.
Yeah.
Between, like, human fear and following God.
Right.
Ananias is terrified. He's heard all about Saul.
Yeah, Saul's reputation precedes him.
Exactly. I mean, this guy is dangerous.
Like, wait, you want me to go to the guy who's been throwing Christians in jail?
Right. And God reassures him.
Okay. And reveals Saul's future. He's going to be a chosen instrument, preached to the Gentiles, to kings, to Israel.
Wow.
Imagine that for Ananias.
I know, this fierce persecutor spreading the message of Jesus.
Yeah. I think it's a reminder that God can use anyone, even someone, who seems totally unlikely.
Right.
And emphasizes obedience.
Yeah, even when you're afraid.
Absolutely.
Okay, so Ananias goes to find Saul.
And we get another incredible moment.
Okay, what happens?
Ananias lays hands on Saul, and scales literally fall from Saul's eyes.
Wow.
His sight is back, and then Saul is baptized, officially accepting Jesus.
Right, he's entering the community now.
Right.
It's like a physical and spiritual rebirth.
It is.
Wow, it's so interesting to think about Ananias in this too, He's really stepping out in faith. He trusts God's vision.
Totally. And his obedience, it's a catalyst for one of the most significant conversions
in Christian history. So Saul, now a believer, doesn't waste any time.
No, he starts preaching right away in the synagogues, proclaiming Jesus is the Son of God.
This is a total turnaround.
Right.
The guy who was going to arrest Christians is now defending them.
I know.
So passionately.
With conviction.
I wonder if those people who knew him before thought.
I know. Right.
Seeing him preach about Jesus.
I imagine the conversations.
Isn't that the guy?
Yeah, what's happening?
It just shows how radical his conversion was.
Totally.
But I'm sure it wasn't easy.
No, of course not. The more he preaches, the more pushback he gets.
Right.
The Jews in Damascus, they're furious.
Oh, yeah.
They want to kill him.
Oh, man, this is dangerous now.
It is. The disciples know about the plot, so they lower him down the city wall.
Wait, how?
In a basket.
In a basket. Seriously.
Yeah.
That's like straight out of a movie.
It is.
But it shows how much danger he's in.
Yeah.
And how committed he is to his new faith.
Absolutely.
So where does he go next?
He goes to Jerusalem to connect with the other disciples.
Okay.
But it doesn't quite go as planned.
Oh, why not?
Well, think about it. The disciples in Jerusalem, they're cautious.
Right. Oh, of course.
They've heard about this Saul guy.
The one who was persecuting them.
Yeah. And now he's saying he's a follower of Jesus. I mean...
I get it. They'd be skeptical.
Yeah.
After everything they've been through.
Exactly.
Trust is hard.
Especially with someone like that.
Right.
And this is where another important person comes in. Barnabas.
Okay, Barnabas. Tell me about him.
So he had met Saul before.
Oh, okay.
And he had seen Saul's change firsthand.
Ah, so he can vouch for him.
Right. He explains how Saul encountered the Lord, how passionately he's been preaching.
And this is important.
Yeah, this is crucial because it means Saul can be accepted.
Into the community in Jerusalem.
Exactly.
So thanks to Barnabas, Saul finds a place.
Right.
But I have a feeling this journey isn't over.
Oh, no. This is just the beginning for Saul. Or I guess we should say, for Paul.
Right.
His story, it really shows how powerful faith can be. For sure. And the unexpected ways God works.
Exactly.
Okay, that's a great place to stop. For now, we'll pick up the story next time.
Sounds good.
Until then, think about Saul's journey.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
What can we learn from it?
There's so much there.
Yeah.
Okay, so we left off with Saul, right? Finding his place with the believers in Jerusalem thanks to Barnabas. But as we move through Acts chapter 9, things kind of shift a bit. We start seeing more of Peter's ministry, the miracles he performs.
It is interesting how those two stories, Saul's conversion and then Peter's ministry, they're woven together.
Yeah.
It's like we're seeing, I don't know, different parts of how the early church was growing.
Exactly. Different sides of it, It shows how the message was spreading, transforming lives in different ways.
Yeah, I like that.
And speaking of transformations, in Lydda, right, Peter meets this man, Aeneas.
Okay, yes.
He'd been paralyzed for 8 years.
8 years. That's a long time.
Oh, yeah. Just imagine, bedridden for that long.
Yeah. Suffering. Isolation.
And what's amazing is how Peter responds. He doesn't even hesitate. He just says to Aeneas, Jesus Christ makes you whole. Get up and make your bed.
And he does.
The text says Aeneas got up immediately.
Wow. Instant healing.
It's incredible, right?
Yeah.
It really shows the power of faith, the authority that Peter had. It's not like a slow recovery or anything. It's like, boom, he's healed.
I bet the people who saw that were just blown away.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, to see that someone instantly healed after all those years, it would be amazing.
Yeah.
And the effect was immediate, too. News of it spread throughout the region. People started turning to the Lord.
One miracle leading to a wave of faith.
It's amazing how one act, it can have such a ripple effect, shaping the entire church.
That's a good point. So from Lydda, Peter travels to Joppa, right?
Yeah.
And that's where we hear the story of Dorcas.
Right. Dorcas,
Yeah.
also known as Tabitha.
That's the one that really stood out to me. It's sad but hopeful,
Yeah.
What's so special about Dorcas?
So Dorcas was a disciple known for her good works, always helping people, making clothes for the widows,
Yeah.
always taking care of those in need.
So when she dies, it hits the community hard.
It's devastating, especially for the widows. The text even describes them, weeping, showing Peter the clothes she made.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that really shows how much she meant to them, her impact, and their grief.
Right. And in the midst of all this sorrow, Peter does something incredible.
He brings her back to life.
He prays and then he says, Tabitha, arise. And she does. She comes back to life.
That's unbelievable. It really shows the power of resurrection.
Exactly. It's not just about Dorcas, It's about showing that death can be overcome.
A core belief in Christianity.
Right. And like with Aeneas, it had a huge impact. People in Joppa heard about it, and many more believed in the Lord.
These stories of healing, of resurrection, they're so powerful. They really show what was happening in the early church.
Yeah, they do.
But I noticed something. The chapter ends kind of quietly, doesn't it? It just says, Peter stayed in Joppa for a while with Simon, a tanner.
Ah, yeah. That little detail, it actually tells us a lot.
What do you mean?
Well, think about it. In those days, being a tanner, it wasn't, a respected profession.
Oh, right, because of the whole ritual purity thing.
Exactly.
Well,
But Peter stayed with him anyway.
so he's breaking down social norms, showing that Jesus' message is for everyone.
Exactly. No matter their background, their job, anything.
That's a powerful message, even today.
It is. And, it kind of sets the stage for what's to come later in Acts.
Oh, yeah, the mission to the Gentiles.
Right. Peter's actions here, they paved the way for a more inclusive church.
A more expansive understanding of faith.
Yeah, I like that. Expansive.
It also shows how the gospel can change things, challenge prejudices, and even change society.
Absolutely. Acts chapter 9, it's a turning point, full of action, drama, and deep meaning.
It really is. And it gives us a lot to think about, like what transformations are possible in our own lives? What role can we play in spreading this message of love and grace?
Those are good questions, ones that we should all be asking ourselves.
Well said. This deep dive into Acts chapter 9 has been fascinating. Thanks for joining us. We'll pick it up next time.
It's amazing, isn't it? When you step back and look at Acts chapter 9 as a whole, You've got Saul's conversion, right? Aeneas being healed, Dorcas brought back to life. They seem like separate stories, but
Yeah, but they're all connected.
yeah, they're all part of something bigger, like threads in a tapestry, you know?
It's like each event kind of pushes the story forward, adds to this momentum of the early church.
That's a good way to put it. And I think it's really interesting how each story shows us the Holy Spirit working through people.
Yeah, empowering Saul to preach,
Yeah.
helping Peter to heal, even bringing Dorcas back to life.
Exactly. It's a reminder that that same spirit, the one that was working then, is still working today.
Right. It's easy to think of these as just stories from the past, you know,
Yeah,
but they're meant to, I don't know, inspire us, challenge us in our own faith.
absolutely.
What do you think these stories tell us about what the early church was like?
Well, a few things stand out to me. They were bold
Okay.
in sharing their faith,
Proclaiming Jesus,
right? They were compassionate, caring for people in need, and they weren't afraid to challenge the way things were.
like social norms.
Exactly. They went outside their comfort zone, reached out to those who were different, really showed God's love in practical ways.
Yeah, that's a good example for the church today.
It is.
Okay, but one thing I find really interesting is how the chapter ends. It's not this big climax, you know?
Right.
It just says Peter stayed in Joppa for a while, lodging with Simon, a tanner.
Ah, yeah. That little detail, it actually tells us so much.
Okay, remind me, why is that important?
Well, back then, tanning was seen as, unclean.
Right, ritually unclean.
Yeah. So for Peter to stay with Simon, it was a big statement.
Like he was saying, the gospel is for everyone.
Exactly. Doesn't matter your background, your job, anything. God's love is for everyone.
It's a powerful message, still relevant today.
Totally. And it kind of hints at what's coming up in Acts, right?
The mission to the Gentiles,
Yeah. Peter staying with Simon, it paves the way for a more inclusive church.
for a wider understanding of faith.
I like that. Wider. Yeah.
It shows that the gospel can really change things, challenge prejudices, even change society.
Absolutely. Acts chapter 9, it's a turning point, full of action, deep meaning. It points us to the power of the Holy Spirit.
And it leaves us with a lot to think about. What changes are possible in our own lives? How can we share that message of love and grace with the world?
Big questions, important ones.
Well said. This has been a fascinating deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Keep exploring, keep asking those questions, and keep the conversation going.